Well, good afternoon to you. My name is Dr. John Hendron. I am with PDK International, which runs Educators Rising, the national CTSO for pre-education pathways. I'm joined today by my colleague who is an incredible educator. I always get excited when I ever hear her talk about her experiences and the work that she does to support us here at Educators Rising, Debbie Weaver Balough. And we are so excited that you're joining us. We are both educators at heart. We both got our start in the field as becoming educators. I can't speak for Debbie, but I did not have a CTSO experience when I was in high school to think about education. But I thought I would share with you, I got started thinking about becoming an educator for the silliest of reasons when I was in first grade. These were the chalkboard days. And I was so obsessed with the plastic chalk holder that my first grade teacher had. And I'm like, oh, that must look cool. She, would advance the chalk to come out so she never had to get her hands dusty. That was my first thought. I'd like to be in front of a room and be talking to people. Um, the thing that clicked for me later in life was I was a music student. I was a trombonist. I was in the symphonic band in my high school, marching band. I took every music class they offered. I took music theory, music history. Music was really doing something to me in my adolescent brain of saying, this fits John's reason for being. And our band director was absent, and we had a substitute teacher who was not a music educator. And she asked if anybody could lead the band and rehearse them while she was there. And the students nominated me, and I was like, oh gosh, this is going to be exciting. And I got to get in front of our band, pick up the baton, and it was my first time. I successfully led them through the music, and it was an incredible experience. I'm like, I think I might like this. And so that led to me studying music and getting into music education. And I'll stop about my story, but I just want to share with you that we understand what you're doing in your schools to maximize the potential of those students in your care. And hopefully, if you're interested in taking things to the next level for students who might be interested in getting education, that you would look to us and our organization as being able to help you with that that calling that students have. So, kind of looking over through the results, I thank you to those who took our poll. Um, Many of you came here. We have Debbie, just so you know, we've got two folks who used to be with EdRising, may have drifted away and are thinking about bringing it back to their school. We have two that have a chapter in their school, and we have a number of folks who just came here to learn about what we're all about, which is great because we have content for all three of those groups. And then two of the folks on our webinar this afternoon are using the Educators Rising curriculum. And we have a mixture of different places where people come from. We've got teachers, district administrators, and higher ed partners. So again, we're glad you are here. So to get started, our theme for this year with Educators Rising, which was student chosen, is teach with purpose, lead with passion. And if you don't know about what we do, or if you haven't heard about us, PDK International has been around for a really long time. It was established in 1906. In 1937, if I'm doing the timeline correctly, the NEA established Future Teachers of America, which eventually became the Future Educators Association, which PDK International took over in 1994. And we rebranded and invested a lot in that program, that CTSO, and rebranded it as Educators Rising back in 2015. So this year we've celebrated 10 years as Educators Rising. And one of the incredible things that Debbie and I get to do is to actually interface with the students one time a year at our national conference. And so this past year we were down in Orlando. We had an incredible experience, and then it was our largest conference yet. And we're looking forward to hosting next year's conference this coming June in Portland, Oregon, which will be a new location for our organization. A little bit more about us. We originally started, as I mentioned, as Future Teachers of America. 39 state and regional affiliations. That means we have folks on the ground that organize Educators Rising. And so in those states, there will be regional, like Texas, and then larger state conferences and events. So our students who are part of the CTSO get to compete and see how they stack up with others who are pursuing education. We currently have over 20,000 members nationwide, and we have chapters now established primarily at high schools, but we have a number of districts who have started middle school chapters that act as feeder chapters. And then we have Educators Rising Collegiate, so that we provide support for students once they graduate from high school in pursuit of their education degree. So why do we exist? Why is there a need for the types of services that we offer schools like yours? Well, we know that there are a huge number of folks who thankfully work in schools, but on paper they are underqualified. And I know if you're a parent, you'd probably say, well, if I had the choice, I'd rather have a qualified educator in front of my own children. And we recognize that there's varying levels of expertise, but being a certified teacher is really what students deserve. We have 55,000 unfilled vacancies in the past year, which means if you're a school leader, there's that crunch as the start of the school year starts. As summer bleeds away, you're like, oh my gosh, I still have this position, this position, this position. And we know it's not always present all the time. Some districts struggle a lot. Others, it comes in pockets, it comes and goes. But we do recognize that there is a national issue, and we're here to provide a solution to school districts where you can grow your own educators by getting kids excited, those who feel that they want to help others out in life. We have many students, when we talk to them, who do come to our conference, when we have time to interface, they will tell us that they recognized very early on that they might want to get into this. And hopefully it wasn't for the silly reason of being able to use the chalk holder like it was for me. But all kidding aside, we know there's an issue. We have a solution that really does work. Not only do we get kids into schools pursuing those degrees to become teachers, school administrators, school counselors, school librarians, school nurses, we expose them to the full gamut of careers that are available as an educator. One of the things that's really cool that we're able to offer is this advanced experience. This is what a lot of CTSOs do and then why they exist. We're giving students advanced experience to see if this is the right career fit for them. And through our chapters, we have a number of activities that students can do to develop leadership skills, but usually in the context of a CTE pathway in your school, students are not only going to be learning through books and through your direct instruction, but they're going to have opportunities to teach younger students. And many times that will either happen in a preschool setting or in a primary setting in your district, where students have that practical experience. And when you purchase our curriculum, you get a bunch of resources to help you do that if that's not something that you've done before. So we treat this as a grow your own. Grow your own is an umbrella term that really just talks about how districts are looking for talent within their communities. Our specialty is how to develop that in today's students who are working with you, who may very well be committed to coming back and working in your community. We know that 60% of teachers end up teaching within 20 miles of where they themselves went to high school. And so we know that it doesn't take a lot to keep them there, to keep them grounded. We do this through what we call as a 5 C's model. And this is combining chapters, curriculum, the community of support that continues beyond high school. We mentioned at our conference, we have competitions. Our conference is also an opportunity for advanced learning. We have experts come. Right now, we're doing a call for sessions. If you were to go to our website, we like to bring educators from all across the country to both inspire and to provide students the types of things that maybe you're not able to provide right in your classroom. But of course, access to experts is something that we really think is pretty cool. The other thing that we don't always highlight, but when you become an Educators Rising member, you get access to the PDK International Scholarship pool. And you can see some statistics there. We, this past year, awarded over 40,000 to students in our program. And so this is a boom. We also have an Honor Society for Educators Rising members. We would love to be their partners to make sure that they get the type of position in education that they want. A lot of our students do pursue teaching. We have others that get started in a paraprofessional role. And then we have a growing number of students who aspire to grow into other roles, whether it's being an instructional coach, an assistant principal. We have a few students. I remember meeting Debbie that, they said, I want to be a superintendent someday. They already had their sights on that. So we're there to support them through that process. One of the cornerstones or foundational pieces of our program that we're really proud of is the Educators Rising curriculum. Now, if you have a chapter in your school, about the only cost there, it's minimal, is student dues. And that's the national dues are $15. Some states also have to participate in their programs state dues. Not all of them do. The extra add-on cost is this particular resource that we have, which is the Educators Rising curriculum. This was developed after developing a number of really great standards. We are now in our third iteration of the curriculum. We feel it's only getting better year after year because we're getting input from those folks in the field using this product. And so new for this school year, we launched our third iteration of the curriculum. We have a scope and sequence map that you see there that is going to cover the whole 2-year program if you want to do it that way. We have schools that want to do the CTE course in just a year. We have others that want to do it in a 4-year sequence. What you're going to find, and Debbie can tell you a little bit more about it, it's been designed to be really flexible. And so while you can take it out of the box and use it just as is, some of you, when you get those Lego sets, you're like, well, yeah, I could build what I'm supposed to do by following the instructions, or maybe I want to customize it for me. And one of the things you're going to find is you're going to get support to do that if you want to. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Debbie. Debbie is our National Implementation Manager. If you go through our training, she is one of the friendly faces that you're going to see. She today is going to cover a number of the things here that we do so that our teacher leaders, those leading the Educators Rising program in your school, are well supported. And Debbie, without further ado, I will hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. So, welcome everyone. And for those of you who already know me, because maybe you've actually been through one of my trainings or someone on my team's training, my name is Debbie Weaver Balough, and I'm the National Implementation Manager for PDK Educators Rising. And it is the greatest job to come and work every day with teacher leaders who I know are working closely with the students who basically were little Debbies. Like I was that student who knew I wanted to be a teacher from the time that I could first talk. I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. And so I really like to say that honestly, even before Grow Your Own was a thing, I sort of started my own Grow Your Own program for myself because there was no such thing at my school and I was hungry for it. No matter how many teachers told me that I should not go into teaching, no matter how many people said, please go do something else. You're so good at math and science and this and that. And I was like, but I know what I want to do. I want to be you. I want to be a teacher. I knew, and there was no getting around that. Those students, just like me, they're in your classrooms right now. And they are not swayed by the naysayers. They are going to do this work because it's a calling. It is inside of us. Those of us who want to do this work, it's like you can't change our minds. So let's harness that excitement and let's harness it and make sure that they have opportunities to not only learn about pedagogy, but also to come back to our school systems, whether it's the one that they grew up in or, in your county or just in your state or wherever in the world they want to teach, to make sure that they really feel confident and excited and keep that passion and fire burning for them. So when you're working, if you get a chance to work with me, it's because you've decided, you know what, we're ready to do this, whether we're going to do it through the chapter work or whether we're going to use it through an actual CTE pathway. We would like to use the Educators Rising curriculum, and Debbie, train us. What do we need to know? What do we need to do? And that's where I come in, or my team comes in, to be able to support you. And we really do have so many supports. So please do mention in the chat if you're like, I'm going to need more information about this curriculum. We would love to have those conversations with you and explore all of these different support options further. But I want to let you know that it's really sort of a like, you name it, we do it sort of situation. You saw on the screen that John had mentioned that whether you want in-person support or virtual support, email support, a phone call, a Zoom call, you name it, we have these opportunities. We also have ongoing virtual trainings. So I'm going to share my screen and show you some of the goodies and opportunities that you would get with working with me and my team to learn more about your resources. So let's close out of this. So when you do become a member of our curriculum resources, you're going to get access to our portal. And our membership portal has oodles and oodles. Like if you look here on the left-hand side, we have all sorts of things that are going to feel overwhelming at first if you don't have someone to guide you through. So we do. We have a whole team of folks that'll guide you through. So here under our Educators Rising Curriculum and Implementation tab, you'll see there's a button called Implementation Support. So when you're in this implementation support page, you'll notice at the very top, we've got two of our main right out of the gate trainings that you'll do, which is the 90-minute orientation, which is where you'll just establish a time to come and talk with me or one of your area support coordinators in a 90-minute Zoom training to kind of like show you what all of these tabs mean, and the ones in particular that you're going to need to know right out of the gate. During this 90-minute orientation, we'll talk about how to get your students registered to use resources, how to get them, registered for membership so they do qualify for scholarships and leadership opportunities and all those things. And then we'll also go into the curriculum resources so that you can see how to get access to the PowerPoint slides, the student interactive workbooks, all of those things. So this 90-minute orientation session is a small version of what is our 6-hour full day training. I will tell you, some of the teachers who go through our orientation are like, this is what I needed. I now have all the information that I need. Let me just run with it. And they kind of save up that full day training because maybe they know that they're going to be attending our national conference. And if they are going to go to conference, then they would get to do a live training with me and my team. And that is a spectacular event. So that's how some people decide to do their next step of support. For others are like, okay, this was a great like dip my toe in the water sort of experience, but now I'm ready for the full 6-hour training. So then they'll sign up for those. We typically do those mostly at the beginning of the school year, like July, August, September, sometimes in October. And then we'll have another one in January. And then we typically don't really have another one until the summer when we have a national conference because a lot of folks with their contracts, they might just be getting familiar with using the resources through an orientation, but they're not ready for the full 6-hour until they're closer to the implementation. So, but just do know again, that orientation is a very intimate experience too. So it's usually either one-on-one. Sometimes there might be like 2 or 3 people in the group, but it typically is very personalized. And so that may be all that you need to get going. And then you do have those longer options if you're ready for them. Group coaching calls are then once a month. We'll invite you to say, hey, let's keep this party going. We kind of know like throughout the year where you should probably be in your implementation. So for example, when you're first rolling things out, you need to just know like, how do I engage students with the curriculum? So that will be one of the coaching calls. Or how do you start setting up clinical experiences so that your kids can now start going out into schools and observing teachers or doing some student teaching themselves. So that will be one of the group coaching calls. How do you use our lesson assessment resources? The group coaching calls are just an hour a month. You jump on the call, and if you're not able to make the group coaching call, no worries. We actually record them and post them in our Facebook group. So we'll let everyone know in the Facebook group, hey, we've actually just held recently a training. Here's the link to it on our YouTube channel. And so then folks will be able to see those. But the Facebook groups in and of themselves, we actually have two of them. One of them is really focused on our classroom implementation, or I should even say our chapter implementation of the curriculum. That particular group is my group. Like I monitor that one very, very closely. And then we also have a group that is just nationwide for any teacher leader who is running a chapter and just needs kind of like the inside scoop on national conference updates, what sort of things that the kids might need to know for getting, registered for their hotel rooms, etc. But even just throughout the year, the membership team that manages that group, they'll also give tips and tricks on recruitment and fundraising. And this is again just where your fellow educators nationwide can post questions and then get answers to those things. So before I go any further, I just want to show you really quickly. So this is a perfect example. So this is our Educators Rising curriculum implementation community on Facebook. Again, one of our support options. And you can see here that one of our teachers just yesterday posted, does EdRising curriculum have a lesson on developing your teaching philosophy? And does anyone have a great lesson or unit to teach us? This couldn't have come in at a better time because I was like, oh, I'm going to actually show this when we do the webinar this week. But you can see that there have been 11 comments posted about like how we can support that teacher in her question about where could she find those resources. So I actually posted a few things for her, but also getting feedback back from the teacher, and then also just kind of the back and forth conversations. She actually said, well, I'm going to show you what I put together. And now she's sharing it with the group, which is really cool. And that's like part of this support, is that then you become a part of this community of people that share their best practices of, what's going on and what's working and whatnot. So really exciting that we have this way for people to build community with one another and share best practices, kind of talk about what their favorite lessons are, those sort of things. It's really cool. And then again, with the group coaching calls, that can be very asynchronous, right? Like if you aren't able to make it live, if you can make it live, you can actually just get some extra coaching. You can ask questions on that call. But if you can't, you can watch it back later. And then again, you always can reach out to our teams. I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. You'll have access through this portal to be able to schedule directly with us. So you can see like which particular states that we tend to focus on. And so you'll find your state, find your area support coordinator who will be able to answer questions, jump on a Zoom call with you one-on-one. We really do a lot of white glove service for our curriculum users to just say, we're here for you. We have people that can support you. We do have some state-specific support, especially where grants are involved and they might be part of like grant sites. So we have quite a rich team of amazing teacher leader, supports. So just know that if you're thinking, am I going to come on board and start using this curriculum and have like just be left with no one to help me? No way. You really have such an amazing team. And as you can even see that as I'm scrolling on this, all the while we keep on here, how do I get to my year one lessons? How do I get to my year two lessons? Where do I find my clinical experiences? This is also a part of what we do through our department for support. We want to make sure you know how to like easily get to your goodies, and that you can get to, for example, for your year one, you get over to your student guidebook resources. You have a scope and sequence that you can download to kind of pace out your year if you need some direction on that. But also a huge part of the training is letting you know that everything is modular. So you may decide that you want to start with growth mindset, and then you may want to skip on down here to Unit 5 and do a lesson on formative assessments. And that is still a great way to use this program. You can move things around where you need them. So in case you're wondering about the flexibility of the program, Absolutely. And you'll even notice in terms of flexibility, we provide you supports of if you really just need like the shortened version, we have a 1 day lesson. If you kind of need the longer, more in-depth, more activities version, we have the 3 day, 5 day. And with each of these, you'll see that we've got our PowerPoints, our guided notes. And you'll see here, this one says student interactive workbook coming soon because this is one of our years of the update iterations. But Unit 5 is not usually until the last quarter of the school year. So you're not in any sort of a situation where you don't have all the resources that you need. You can see here that, for example, in Unit 2, let me open this one up. Here's what our student interactive guidebook looks like. It's really fancy and flashy. So you have all sorts of great resources. These are for the students to be able to fill out either digitally online or teacher leaders can print them out. But these go along with each slide of the lesson where there is an activity to do. So, some of the slides are just instructional, other slides are where there will be things that need to be filled out. So again, how would you know how to use these? Well, you have us. And this is what we do day in and day out. We support teacher leaders, again, either virtually, through email, on the phone, through Zoom, or face to face. So I've gotten the great pleasure of traveling around the country this year to work, for example, in Alaska, California, North Dakota, Miami last December, so we do get a chance. And here's what teachers say that they love about our support. So just a few quick things to let you know, it really is meaningful. One of the reasons they say they love it is that it's stress reducing. And that's something that we know is one of the things that pushes teachers out of the classroom is that they feel overstressed and not supported enough. So this is something where they say, thank you for all the information. I feel less stressed about starting this year because of this training. All of these next few slides are, there's just a handful of them, are from the last 3 months. Because again, there are so many hundreds of comments that we get. I was like, oh, where do I even start to pick for this webinar? I was like, I'm just going to pick from the last 3 months. And so it says, thank you. I feel less stressed about starting this year thanks to going to this training. These trainings are motivation inducing. So they're going to say this curriculum is packed with information and exciting ideas to teach students. I am so pumped to use this curriculum because a lot of teachers will tell us when they start our trainings are like, I'm really nervous about this. This feels very overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. And then we just are able to calm them down and say like, this is where you start and don't you worry. You can ask us questions anytime, any step of the way. Then they get super excited. And it's collaborative. So during the trainings, they get a chance to meet other people. And so this teacher said the training was great to learn more about the curriculum and to hear from others on how they utilize the curriculum and or what their courses look like. Let me tell you, this part of the training is one of my favorites where the teachers just start to share out like, well, at our school, we're on a block schedule. This is how we roll it out. This is when we do our clinicals. This is how we're going to use the curriculum in conjunction with what we do with our, nearby college. Like there's lots and lots of different ways that people are using our resources either wholly, like entirely as their curriculum or in part. And so it's great to hear from others like how they're using us and what inventive ways that they're doing to make this mission happen of making sure that these kids are learning the best practices of becoming wonderful future educators who are going to also stay on the path and actually, matriculate all the way through. They also say that after our trainings, they love it because ideas bring excitement. And so this teacher said, just wanted to share with everyone that our 2 Educators Rising trainings earlier this week were a huge success. Our trainer did a phenomenal job, and I'm so excited for this initiative to roll out this year. I got so many wonderful ideas at this training. Also, they say it's because we have passionate trainers. This teacher said, I am sitting in the EdRising PL, professional learning session with our trainer and wanted to let you know she is bringing the energy and passion needed for effective remote learning. She obviously loves what she's doing and is fully committed to the mission of EdRising. I want to recruit her to be our new GYO program manager. Yes, people try to steal us all the time because we really, really do love this work. And as you can see with these last 2 comments, we really love pouring ourselves into the support that we can offer. It says, you guys do a great job of providing comprehensive support. Thank you. And truly appreciate the materials you provide, the support, all incredible. So kind of just want to pause there now and see like what questions do you have about like how will you be supported if you decide to use this program or if you're already using our program, in what ways that, what questions do you have or in what ways do you want to get in touch with us to get some additional supports? So I'm just going to kind of pause there and see what questions that we may have, John.
Yeah, I would just remind folks if you have questions for Debbie, if you want her to show you any more, then I know she kind of opened the door and showed you what's behind the curtain. If you'd like to see something else, let us know in the Q&A. That helps us manage the questions. Um, got a few questions through the regular text chat, and Kimberly, I've got your email. Thank you for sharing that with us. But I don't see any other questions that have popped up just yet, but we're going to use our best teacher training to give some wait time to see if folks here have questions.
And while you're thinking about what those questions might be, one of the questions we do get sometimes is you might have heard me mention that we do have live training. So if you're wondering, like, can you or someone from your team, Debbie, come to our school district and do training? Yes, we do have options for that. And, honestly, for some of the schools we work with, that's where they do have dollars that they need to spend is for professional learning. And they'll say, we need to spend down our professional development dollars. And maybe, if they can get it approved, sometimes they can even get it approved that when I come and do their training, it can count toward professional learning credits for their teachers who are, want to put that toward their, ongoing certification. Um, so yes, definitely can help with that. Another question we get a lot, John, you can stop me anytime, but, while we're waiting, is can we use the EdRising curriculum in conjunction with a textbook that we're already using or with our dual enrollment credit program? Yes, we work very closely with a lot of institutions for higher education. So we work with a lot of colleges and universities that have said, wow, we've looked at your curriculum. It's rich. It's really well put together. And that's because it's not just based on a couple of us sitting in a room putting it together. We collaborate with the big minds in education across the country, from NEA and if the I always mess up American Federation for Teachers, right? So we work with national boards. We're very good partners with them. So this is not just stuff that's kind of thrown together. This has gone through quite a few channels to make sure that it's perfected to be really in line with high quality standards. Anything coming through, John?
One of the questions was, are we going to send a recording of this? There are some folks who are interested in sharing this with colleagues in their districts. We will. Anybody who signs up for our webinars ends up getting recordings. Usually I'm pretty good. I'm the one that does it. So I'm usually the next day go out. So keep an eye out on your inbox. I would ask, we do hear from folks when we send them emails, they don't get our emails, and we know how aggressive those filtering apparatuses can be with your school email. If for some reason you don't get our email, you can certainly whitelist our domain name or ask your tech person at your school to whitelist educatorsrising.org or PDKINTL, pdkinternational.org for those domains so to ensure that our emails are getting through. But secondarily, if you go to our website, educatorsrising.org, up in the right-hand corner, you're going to see a link for GYO webinars. That's Grow Your Own Webinars. And you'll see Debbie's picture there because we post all of our webinars on our webpage as well. So we'll make sure that you are set up one way or the other to get access to this tomorrow.
And I want to say too, a lot of people will say that they are shocked at just how true we are to our word of if we say reach out to us and we're going to set up a call with you or training with you, we really mean that. And it's not like we're keeping tabs of how many times you've asked questions. Nope. You just keep them coming. We're going to get you answers each time. So it's not like a situation where you only can ask us, well, we've already set up one call with you. Sorry, you get no more chances. No, anytime you have questions, let us know. Now, obviously, you're very busy. We're very busy. We're going to have to sync our schedules, but we go the extra mile to make sure that you get that support. And I love hearing that as feedback when teachers are like, you really meant it. Hillary, from one of our area support coordinators, Hillary really meant it. She got back in touch with me, and she set this up. And I'm like, yes, because we really love doing this work. We love being a support to you. So you're never out there just like trying to figure this out on your own. You're not like an island of isolation. Like we're here to help you.
Yeah, Debbie, I just want to make a point. Our heroes in this work are our teacher leaders that are across the, hundreds of schools out there that are using our program. Uh, we do our best to give you a great foundation to build a program that's going to grow over time. We were talking to someone on our previous webinars who their first chapter started with 10 students. And I'll say, hey, some of you out there may have started with fewer number than that. But over the course of a decade, they grew the program through the roof. I mean, the
Hmm.
teacher leader who started that program in Louisiana now oversees Educators Rising for the entire district. It got so big, and it becomes this dependable source for new teachers
Yeah.
in that community, right? And the students that grew up in your community know your schools. They want to be there. They understand the the students who are in that community, and it's incredibly satisfying to know that you can do this yourself. And we're your partners in that work. But
And our district leaders are telling us they're putting little check mark boxes on their applications, and it'll say, "Were you in an EdRising program?" And when they see that check mark is like that box is checked, they get so excited. They're usually either able to fast track those particular candidates at least to an interview. They don't get guaranteed a job, of course, but like at least it fast tracks them to say, "Wow, we know that you were a part of an EdRising program, that you got some great training when you were in high school. So let's talk about how, where there might be a place for you in our district." I saw that you were answering a question, so I can see the reason John's looking very like he's really in deep thought is because someone asked about like, so, how do we set up these contracts and are they annual? Like, remember, you just need to come and also talk to our team about like what it is that you are looking for, and then in many cases it's very customized packages, but yes, it typically is something that you renew annually, or you can do multi-year contracts, just kind of depending on what your funding sources are and whatnot.
well, Debbie, I put our email address in the chat. It's community@educatorsrising.org. We have a team of folks who monitor that. As I understand it, is now sending out a out of office message. But there are folks who are in the office who are monitoring that email. I know part of our team is out at the ACTE conference this week, and so we will get back in touch with you just as soon as we can. Appreciate you being here, hearing some of the details that Debbie had to share about the work that she does just to ensure that our teacher leaders, who we care deeply about, are well positioned to inspire the next generation and to help students teach with purpose and lead with passion. I've got one more comment that came in. So there's some questions here around funding. This particular person comes from a large district with 14 high schools. We do have some districts like that with multiple schools with chapters in each school. What funding is available to help make the program state recognized program? So we have CTSO status in certain states. Um, and we would have to talk with you about specifically what state you're in. But again, get in touch with us at community@educatorsrising.org and we can talk about funding opportunities. If you visit our curriculum page at the Educators Rising website, go to curriculum at the top. If you scroll about 3/4 of the way down, I think there is a recorded webinar on all the different funding opportunities for chapters. And so that would be my first go-to resource that talks about funding specifically. So I hope that's a resource that will work for you.
We'll definitely get back in touch with you. I see you put Minnesota on there. That I just actually got back from a conference in Minnesota, and you guys are on fire with the work that you're doing with residencies and getting many of your like your parapros converted into full teaching certificates. It's just really inspiring. So if you haven't seen some of the work that Minnesota's been doing on that, it's really inspiring and impressive. But actually, when I was at that conference, one of the questions came up of like, well, how do we try to get the students while they're still students on the track to become parapros. And that's actually another opportunity that you have through Educators Rising. We're very well versed on, what is needed for those certifications and whatnot. And there are things that we can do to support that work as well. So definitely reach out to that community email address that John has referenced earlier, and that again will be given to you, either after this webinar and whatnot. So lots of good conversations that are forthcoming that'll be able to be had. And again, if you have any questions about just how we can support you, I'm happy to jump in on any of those calls as well.
Specifically with Parapro, we've start partnering with ETS, which is one of the two big providers of certification tests for Parapro. I do not have the state list in my head, but um, I think over half the nation uses the Parapro test from ETS,
Mhm.
and we can resell that to you at a discount. So if you're interested in your state, it may be the CTE completer test for the education training pathway in your state. In
Mhm.
that way, your students can, you wanted them to go through that test. Other schools will use that test just to have a completer type experience for students. But if they pass the parapro, we have very high pass rates in that. That means that they're prepared to go into a paraprofessional role right after graduation. They can start work right away. We have the other paraprofessional story I like to tell is one of our past national officers. She was employed as a paraprofessional while she was in school getting her teaching degree. And so that was an option for her as well that opened up because she went through our program and was well prepared. So,
And
uh,
I think one of the extra things that you do get also for being when you're part of our curriculum users is you get a lot of support with setting up your apprenticeship programs. So we call them clinical experiences, but we are able to then we have our eyes and ears on the ground, and we're listening to all the things that are happening. And when we hear that, for example, in Illinois, there's a school that we work with that their program, they use the EdRising curriculum to prepare their students to actually help them be teachers for their summer bridge programs. How brilliant, because they're like they have issues trying to get teachers to cover summer bridge. And these kids, as long as there is an adult in the room, so that it's not just a student running it, but they really do teach the summer bridge programs, and they record them, and they give these kids feedback on their teaching, and they are really getting the experience of being a full apprentice while they're still in high school, and those are paid apprenticeships. So these are things that we know a little bit about, right? So we've been helping and listening and taking good notes of the things that are happening around the country. So, if you have curiosity about those things, or maybe you're wanting to apply for a grant where, you could use some of our support to help with those sort of things, like these are things that we are really good at. So, let us know, and we can help you get those programs set up as well.